on this edition of The Fifth Estate.
We, the people of Iran, we are brave enough to bring democracy for ourselves.
She calls herself the echo of the revolution. But to millions of Iranian women throwing off their veils and attempting to overthrow their government, she is their voice.
I remember that the first time that the Iranian regime felt really scared of me was the moment that I got bombarded by videos and photos of women walking unveiled.
Small acts of defiance met with deadly force. On the streets, 22-year-old Mahsa Amini may be the face of the protests. But she is credited with inspiring them, making her a target too.
FBI arrested a man with loaded gun, AK-47, in front of my house.
And she's not the only one. Canadian Iranians are also under threat.
They can murder you anytime they want. And they can do it in the best way that leave no trace.
As Iran's cornered Islamic regime lashes out for survival. I'm Gillian Findlay. For months, Iran's streets have been on fire. Protests, arrests, now executions. It's an uprising led by women. And behind it all, a tiny woman who hasn't set foot in her country for more than 13 years. Her name is Masih Alinejad, and tonight a rare feature interview. Her journey, her passion, and the price she and other dissidents are paying in their fight for freedom. This is The Fifth Estate. In so many ways, her story is the story of her country. She was just 3 when the Ayatollahs seized power in Iran, imposing their rigid interpretation of Islam that changed everything, especially for women.
Islam نمیذارد که لخت برن توی این دریاها شنا کنن. پوستشون رو میکنند.
I want you to look back at your life, and if you can, and tell me, when do you think you became a revolutionary?
When I was a little girl, I had no clue about feminism or equality. I never had a clue about discrimination, but I had a little brother that he was able to jump in the beautiful river in my village. And he was the one who was able to go out, play with boys, to go to stadium, to sing, to dance, to ride a bicycle, to show his hair, to be his true self. I was watching him, but I was banned from doing all those activities just because of being a girl.
How old were you when you first started wearing hijab?
From the age of 7. So from the age of 7, if you don't cover your hair, you won't be able to go to school. You won't be able to exist. So that's why I had to start my revolution from my family's kitchen.
Her family was from a village, conservative. And yet it was her mother, she remembers, teaching her how to be brave.
Oh my God. I grew up in a very poor family. We had to use the outhouse, which was in the backyard garden. And during the night, it was very dark, and I was scared of the darkness as well, but my mom used to teach me how to defeat the darkness. My mom told me that if you're scared of the darkness will devour you. But instead of being scared of the darkness, just open your eyes as wide as you can and stare into the darkness. Then the darkness will disappear. So as a kid, I thought this was a fact, so I used to open my eyes as wide as I could, and I learned how to defeat the darkness.
Defeating darkness would become her vocation. She became a journalist, knowing that as a young woman, it wasn't just the mullahs she'd have to confront.
I had to wear long chador, the black chador, to go to high school. So I was forced from school principal to wear it, but I was forced from my father to wear that as well. So I remember that I was only free between my house and the school. The school was very strict. My father was strict as well. So that was, the only place that I could be free myself, my true self. Then when I saw my father one day, accidentally, he catched me unveiled, like not really fully unveiled, just not wearing my chador. Then he spit on me. That was a very difficult moment for me. But believe me, that was the moment I was like fighting my father. And I said, then I can fight the dictators. I can fight the morality police. I can fight everyone. When I was there standing face to face with my father and telling him that, no, I don't want to wear this. I hate that. This is not me. Then when I became a parliamentary journalist, it was easy for me to say no to mullahs.
As a journalist, she was fierce.
I exposed the corruption in Iranian parliament. I published their pay slips, how much salary they received. And you know that in Canada, if you do that, you receive an award. But my award was just being kicked out from mullahs.
It didn't help that, like many young women, she sometimes let her headscarf slip.
In one day, when I asked difficult question, one of the mullah actually came to me and said that, first cover yourself, otherwise I'm gonna punch you on your face.
Remarkably, what followed was captured in photos.
All my colleagues, photographers, they were trying to take photos, but they stopped. They had to save me from the mullah who were trying to, punch me. For what? So that moment I found out, for the clerics in Iran, for the officials in Iran, doesn't matter what you ask. What you wear is more important than what you ask or what you say. So, yeah, I had to fight for my rights every single step.
In 2009, it looked like the fight was about to pay off. A rigged election sparked the biggest mass protests the regime had faced to that point. A moment of hope symbolized in green. Alinejad was among those calling for political reform. But then came the crackdown, and reform no longer seemed enough.
We were wrong, because in 2009, when people took to the streets, first, yes, they asked, where is my vote? But when the Iranian regime started to kill innocent protesters, more than 100 protesters, people were like asking, to take their country back. Our demands had changed. We were clear that we want to end this regime.
But that kind of talk was dangerous, as Alinejad would soon find out.
One morning when I came out from my house, I saw my journalistic cards where my journalistic ID was under my car's wheels. And there was a significant message that now this is your journalistic IDs, next is gonna be you.
How did that feel?
I'm a fearless woman. I went to my editor and I said that you have to defend my right. I wanna stay here. This sign is significant that they're after me. But my editor said that we cannot even defend ourselves. No. And that time they didn't actually allow me to write for my column for newspaper because I was controversial. I had to make a decision whether to stay and impose self-censorship on myself or to leave Iran and be loud.
When we come back, being loud in exile. Alinejad starts a campaign online, and Iranian women unleash their voices.
I didn't expect that only in 1 week, 500,000 people follow the page and fearlessly walking unveiled. It's a punishable crime. You get lashes. You go to prison.
Iran's 2009 Green Movement protests lasted for months. Thousands of Iranians were arrested, more than 100 killed. Missing most of it in exile in London was Masih Alinejad.
When I left Iran, my main focus was about politics. I never thought that I'm going to talk about compulsory hijab because I was brainwashed for years and years that we have so many bigger problems
Then hijab.
than hijab.
That was about to change. It's not that she objects to the hijab for women who choose to wear it. It's the compulsory part that makes her angry, the control it represents.
One day, I was really down and broken, you know. Then I published a picture of myself, unveiled, running in a beautiful street in London. And I wrote a simple caption that every time when I run in a free country and I feel the wind in my hair, it just reminds me of the time that my big hair, my massive hair was like a hostage in the hands of Iranian regime. That's all. I got bombarded by comments from Iranian women envying at my freedom, saying that we want to have the same freedom. And I was like, wow, these women are envying of feeling the wind in their hair. It means that they want to talk about this issue, which for years and years, I thought that this is a small issue. Then soon after, I found another picture of myself, which was unveiled, but in Iran. I was driving down toward my hometown, and I published that picture. I'm a woman. I knew how to bypass the authorities and create the moment of freedom that I wanted. Stealthy freedom, secret freedom. I had 200,000 followers that time, and I asked a simple question. I said, do you want to share the moment of freedom that is stealthy, secret for you?
This time, the bombardment turned into a flood from every corner of the country. Women posing, running, celebrating the simple freedom of a bare head.
I remember that the first time that the Iranian regime felt really scared of me was the moment that I got bombarded by videos and photos of women walking unveiled.
Why do you think it took off? What was it about that particular moment and that particular message that created this movement?
You know why? Because for years and years, the Iranian regime managed to scare women. We had fear inside us to say no to compulsory hijab, no to Islamic Republic. But this time the message was very simple. It was not about saying no to dictator. It was about, let me feel the wind in my hair. Let me just be my true self.
The movement wasn't political at first, but the mullahs could see the potential. And they reacted in a predictably clumsy way, planting a news story designed to shame Alinejad that only ended up bolstering her.
That was the moment that the Iranian regime made a fake news on Iranian state television saying that Masih Alinejad was raped by 3 men in London subway. I was like, what? I mean...
And that was somehow meant to discredit you?
Can you believe that? To discredit you as a woman, they're saying that you got raped, and so happily. To be honest, they know the mindset of some conservative women and men in Iran, and that's why they did that. I remember my own mom called me and said that, Masih, you got expelled from high school. I said, it's okay. You got expelled from Iranian parliament. I said, it's okay. You even got pregnant out of marriage in the village. I said, okay. You got divorced. I said, okay. Now you got raped? What I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna say to the family? I was like, Mom, first of all, I didn't get raped. Second of all, if it was true, then it's not my fault. Mom, you have to support me if it was true. So you see, I actually used this opportunity to educate many people like my mother that it's just stupid. that if we, the women, get raped, it's not our fault. So for me, that was, again, the moment that I found out they're really scared of an unveiled woman. They're really scared of women saying no.
And now, of course, there are tens, hundreds of thousands of women who are saying no. You know, as you watch what is happening in Iran now, did you think that it would come to this? Did you have any idea that this kind of a movement would take place?
Of course.
You knew?
I knew that. Every single day, for 8 years, I've been in touch with them. I've been talking to women inside Iran. I knew how fearless they are. You know, all those young girls, teenagers that have been sending videos to me, I knew that they're not gonna just send videos to me. They will finally take to the streets together and they will say no to dictators.
Of course, today it is political. Her Stealthy campaign, her White Wednesday campaign collected her more than 8 million followers on Instagram. And it's all culminated in this. The chant, woman, life, freedom, is now a rallying cry for regime change. And once again, the regime is reacting. Among the thousands punished is one young woman she will always hold dear.
Sabah Kordafshari was only 20-year-old. She was one of the Women of White Wednesday's campaign. You have to see her video. It's beautiful. She's walking unveiled in the street with her mother saying that, Masih, this is another White Wednesdays. I'm with my mom. I'm walking unveiled, and we are here to be the voice of political prisoners. She sent me another video, and this time she was with Yasaman Aryani, 22-year-old woman, and both of them, beautiful face, full of a smile, full of hope, saying that, Happy White Wednesdays, we're walking unveiled, and we hope for freedom. Both of them got arrested. Sabah received 24 years prison sentence, more than her age. Yasaman received 16 years prison sentence. And I was like, whew, you know, I felt the burden on my shoulder that they go to prison. I'm safe miles away from Iran, so I have to stop this campaign. But you know what happened? Both their mothers joined the campaign. Oh my God, Monire Arabshai, Yasaman's mother, she went in front of the court. You have to see the video. Wearing white headscarf in front of the court. She was actually naming the well-known actress. Oh my God. She actually named Taraneh Alidousti. Taraneh Alidousti was in Iran, like complaining about my campaign, that why I put women in danger. She went in front of the court, the mother of Yasaman Aryani, proudly saying that, Masih, you have to be my voice. Now I am the voice of my daughter, and I'm calling Taraneh Alidousti. I'm calling all the actors. It just makes me cry. And now she's in prison. I hope now she knows all the actors that she named are taking off their headscarves and saying no to Islamic Republic. People were blaming me for years and years. Wow. You have to cut all this crying part because these people are not crying. These are my heroes.
You feel the responsibility, don't you?
I remember when I said to Monire, I'm not going to publish your video because Yasaman got arrested and now you're going to get arrested as well. She told me that, so you have to make up your mind whether you want to work for me or for the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic want to silence us. So you're there, you can be my voice, because I refuse to be silent. She actually, oh my God, she sent me an audio message It was beautiful. She said that موجیم که آسودگی ما عدم ماست. ما زنده به آنیم که آرام نگیریم. How can I translate? I never keep silent to the end of my life. Aram, we are like wave. We never get silent. We are like the waves in the sea that you see us, in ocean that you see us. We never get silent. And I published her video. And I never felt guilty when I found her because she was so powerful.
When we come back,
My body, my choice!
power confronts power. The regime's reach is long.
FBI arrested a man with loaded gun in front of my house. I'm not scared of being killed, but I don't want to die.
And Canadians are targets too.
If Islamic regime doesn't like anybody, they will take a revenge. This is not the first time in the history that they do that.
We don't want them to save us! We want them to stop saving the regime!
In exile, Masih Alinejad has reclaimed the power of her voice,
Go to hell.
and she uses it.
The government of Iran don't know me well because I'm not going to be silent only the day that I'm dead.
But for her parents and siblings back home in Iran, her freedom has come at a cost. Your family, over the years, has paid a price for your activism.
First, they went after my mother. They interrogated my 70-year-old mother, and they wanted my mom to call me and convince me to go to Turkey to hug her. Can you believe that? They were trying actually to use the love between my mom and me and take me to Turkey and kidnap me from Turkey. I would have said yes to my mom. If my mom called me and said, Masih, I miss you, come to Turkey, I would have said yes. But my brother exposed the plan. And one night he just called me and he said that, Masih, if you receive the phone call from mom or dad, just say no, because it's not them talking to you.
He knew it was a plot.
Yeah.
سکوت نکرد، حرف زد. کارت قوی و محکم ادامه بده، کارت درست هسته، مردم دوست دارنه، کارت ادامه بده. تفدا.
They arrested him in front of his 2 small children. They put him in prison for 2 years to punish me. Just think about it. Just imagine a day that your own brother get arrested for doing nothing, just loving you. How would you feel? I was broken. I was totally broken.
But what was intended to silence her only made her louder. In 2014, she and her husband moved to New York, where her campaign against Iran's regime kicked into even higher gear.
So basically, the Islamic revolution has failed, became a revolution against women.
A sought-after speaker, she has charmed talk show hosts and parliaments.
I have a loud voice.
In 2019, she was in Canada's parliament appealing for support.
When Iranian women are fighting for their dignity, then take a stand and make the Islamic Republic responsible. Sanction all the oppressors and make them accountable.
But even from afar, her oppressors have been watching. In the summer of 2020, another kidnap plot, uncovered this time by the FBI. 4 Iranian intelligence officials with an audacious plan to grab Alinejad at her Brooklyn home and smuggle her back to Iran. What did you understand the plan was?
The plan was to take me to speedboat to Venezuela.
To Venezuela?
Venezuela, I love to go there, but not in that way, you know? But it's just like, maybe for you, it's like a scary movie or like fiction or like Hollywood film. But to me and millions of Iranian, kidnapping, it's like It's like in the DNA of the Islamic Republic. It happened before.
So it was plausible to you?
Of course.
Plausible because just the year before, an Iranian journalist in France had been lured back and was eventually hanged. So when the FBI showed up to tell Alinejad the regime had hired private investigators to watch her, she understood it was serious.
I remember the moment actually when I saw the pictures of my stepson, my husband, my garden, myself in the garden. I was shocked. I was like, wow, they are that close to me? And the FBI actually told me every 1 hour they take videos and photos of your movement, of your path, where you go, what you do, and they send it to Iran's intelligence service. That was the moment that I got shocked.
Shocked but scared?
I don't want to say that I don't.
I know you don't want to say, but
yeah,
you must
but
have
it
been.
was scary. It was scary because, you know, I'm not scared of being killed, but I don't want to die. I have a lot of dreams. I want to see my country free. And I was like, I don't want to die in Brooklyn. I don't want to be kidnapped and take back to Iran and be executed before seeing my country without the Islamic Republic, without the mullahs.
At that point, the FBI moved Alinejad and her family into a safe house. But it turns out she wasn't the only Iranian expat the intelligence squad was watching. According to the FBI's indictment, private investigators had been hired in Canada, too, to conduct surveillance on multiple targets identified only as victims 2, 3, and 4. Do you know who those 3 Canadians are?
No, because I wanted to let them know to be careful, and I asked the FBI many times, but they said that they actually passed the information to Canadians.
So what did Canadian authorities do with the information? Warn the Canadian targets? Provide them security? CSIS and the RCMP wouldn't tell us, saying only that as anti-regime protests grow in Canada too, they are aware of threats to Iranian Canadians, and they are investigating.
They can murder you anytime they want. Anywhere you go, they could be operatives of Islamic Republic of Iran.
In January 2020, Hamid Ismailioun's world was shattered when Iranian missiles downed Ukrainian Airlines Flight 752. Among the 176 who died, almost half had ties to Canada, including his wife and 9-year-old daughter.
What we are asking is that you impose targeted sanctions on the leaders.
Since then, Ismailioun has channeled his grief into action, organizing protests in Canada and around the world, this one in Berlin, demanding, like Alinejad, that the world hold Iran to account.
I respect Masih. She's a friend of mine. I fight for justice, she fights for freedom, and same goals, but different approaches.
They've also had different experiences when it comes to protection. Around the time the FBI was moving Alinejad into a safe house, Ismailioun started getting death threats too.
They received a message on Instagram that, Hamid, you're on the list of terror, and just enjoy the last days of your life, and you will be a lesson for other Iranians out of the country, Iranian activists out of the country.
The RCMP was in contact as well to tell him he was a potential target. When he travels to events outside of Canada, he's often provided security by other countries. But at home, he says the RCMP have made it clear he's on his own.
I talked to them and they said they're dealing with several issues. I mean, Ukraine, Russia, and they don't have resources to actually have protection for every single person who's acting against Islam.
So they didn't have the resources to protect you or
I
other
think
Iranians?
so. Not for only me. It's not only me. There are several other activists in Canada.
An Iranian journalist and activist says she is being targeted once again after...
For Alinejad, the stakes got even higher last July. Security cameras caught a man lurking outside her home. When police arrested him, they discovered a loaded AK-47 and lots of ammunition.
Did you see the video of him?
I've seen the video.
I mean,
what do you think when you see that video?
You know what I thought? I thought that just imagine, if he had opened fire in Brooklyn, how many of my innocent neighbors would have been killed? My stepchildren, my husband. It's not just about me. The Iranian regime actually is a threat to American citizens everywhere, to Canadian citizens everywhere.
When we come back, in Iran, protest becomes revolution with the death of a young woman.
Mahsa was not part of any civil disobedience movement. Mahsa was not even unveiled. Mahsa was like every teenager. Mahsa was like every woman.
Kidnapping plots and assassination attempts surely would have scared off most people, but not Masih Alinejad. She continues to travel the world, lobbying politicians, appealing to anyone who will listen to help Iranians overthrow their government.
My next guest, I'm sure many of you have heard of already. She is an enemy of the state of Iran.
We caught up with her at a recent international security conference in Halifax. Do you have to travel with security? Like, did you have to come with security here?
Yeah, I mean, everywhere I go, that's actually part of the problem, that Canada is the only country that they don't give me security details. Only one person when I'm going to give a speech.
Really?
Yeah.
And are you worried about that?
I'm never worried, but my husband is worried. The FBI was worried. The FBI actually was trying to stop me from traveling.
Today, she entrusts her life to the FBI. She and her husband were living in their 8th safe house when we met them, and they've since moved again. Today, it's her cell phone that's her lifeline to everything happening back in Iran.
These were the mothers of those people who got killed by the Iranian regime.
Week by week, the crowds have grown. Massive demonstrations, triggered by the death in September of this young woman, Mahsa Amini, who died in police custody.
This is it. He didn't delete it yet. This is it.
Alinejad was sent secret pictures of Amini in the hospital. A young woman barely out of her teens, arrested for allegedly wearing her hijab improperly.
Mahsa was not part of any civil disobedience movement. Mahsa was not even unveiled. Just a little bit of her hair was shown. I was angry and I said that this is the moment that you have to take to the street and burn your headscarves, burn the morality police van.
And burn they did. Since Amini's death, the regime has arrested nearly 20,000 protesters, and now they are starting to prosecute and execute. But still, the chant, "Woman, life, freedom," echoes throughout the country's streets. What has gone through your mind as you have watched these protests gather strength?
This time is different. This time is not about economic. It's not about salaries. It's not about money. It's about dignity. And it's very beautiful that you see men are standing in front line and saying that, oh, we are ready to sacrifice our life for our daughters, for our sisters, for our mothers. Because the Iranian regime used the men in the name of honor to oppress women. But this time, men are breaking the taboos and saying that no. So this time is about feminism. It's about equality. It's about saying no to gender apartheid regime.
Indeed, support is coming from unexpected places. Women inside and out of Iran defiantly cutting their hair. Athletes ditching their hijabs and being supported by their male counterparts. The country's World Cup soccer team initially refusing to sing the national anthem.
This is the beginning of the end. This is going to end the Islamic Republic. I believe that this is a marathon, and we have really tough road ahead, but this is gonna happen.
Because you know more than anybody how barbaric the crackdown can be. You've seen it before. At some point, do you not worry that the forces arraigned against you will prevail?
Of course I am worried. Of course many people are worried that the Iranian regime gonna kill many people. But the thing is, the more that the regime kill, the more that people get determined to take back to the streets. This time, it's not about mourning. It's not about crying. This time, people are angry. People are furious. Determined to say no to Islamic Republic. And this is a revolution.
But to succeed, revolutions need allies.
My mobile is rubbish. I mean, the government think that I'm being supported by Mossad, MI6, CIA, and I have so many.
In Iran, the regime discredits her as an agent of the West. But in the West, too, she's sometimes dismissed as a tool of neo-imperialists.
I meet with any officials, leaders in America, in the West, because this is my duty, to make them understand that when we manage to shake the regime, they cannot go and shake the hand of the same regime. In my meeting with President Macron and Secretary Blinken and Secretary Pompeo, I was clear that you have to stick with your own values. You cannot just go and negotiate with our murderers, our killers. Is that wrong? This is not wrong. What is wrong that people in the West, sitting in their luxury lives, and they label me. I'm not scared of them.
You have been on a campaign. You're here in Canada now. Have you met with Canadian officials?
I came here in Canada to meet with Justin Trudeau. I was successful to go to Canadian Parliament, but...
that was 4 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
So Justin Trudeau didn't want to meet with me, but his office, yeah, I met with his office.
Then we have to stand up for women's dignity. Here,
I was loud enough in Canadian Parliament, asked them to sanction Revolutionary Guards. I named Revolutionary Guards. I've been ignored. What happened? The same Revolutionary Guards shot down the Ukrainian airplane and they killed innocent Iranian and Canadians passengers. It didn't need for innocent children to get killed for Canadians to sanction Revolutionary Guards.
Canada has not had real diplomatic relations with Iran for more than a decade. Since the protests have started, I think there's 4 or 5 new rounds of sanctions that have been imposed. What more practically are you asking Canada to do that would make a difference?
Canada should put Revolutionary Guards in the terrorist list organization, which they didn't.
And why not
do it yet? That's my question.
Her other question is why the government doesn't do more to penalize Iranians in Canada with ties to the regime.
I want Canadian government to address Khamenei and his gangs of killers the way that they addressed Putin. Look, in Canada, in America, there are massive sanctions against Putin and his relative. Canada became a safe haven for the relative of the Ayatollahs. Officials, interrogators are in Canada. The head of the police was easily given visa and welcomed to be in Canada. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
That was more than a year ago. The former Tehran police chief caught on video working out at a gym north of Toronto. And yet it was only recently, under pressure from Canada's Iranian community, that the government finally got around to putting Mortaza Talayi on the sanctions list.
Sooner or later, Iranian people will get rid of the Islamic Republic, with or without your help. But with your support and your help, less children, less women, less innocent people will get killed.
Can you imagine the day that you step foot back in a free Iran?
Of course.
What does it look like to you?
They took everything away from me. My family, my homeland, everything. But not hope. And that scares the regime because we are full of hope that we see a free Iran without the Islamic Republic, without all these backward mullahs. And that Iran looks like a country where I can easily hug my mom, I can easily hug the mothers of those people who got killed, I can easily hug those women who went to prison just because of sending videos to me.
Everywhere she goes, even in the most unlikely places, she is recognized. In Halifax, it was a young Iranian student in a hotel corridor. So speaking of hope and hugging, I just want to show you this from yesterday. You can hold it.
Oh, این ویدیوی زنه رو پیدا کردن. Oh my God. She just left Iran 1 year ago. عزیزی دلم, I need this woman. زن زندگی آزادی. This is the hope. This is the hope that scares the regime. They took everything from us. Did you see she was crying? Did you see how she was frustrated to express herself? You know, that scares the regime. We are frustrated, we are exhausted, we are tired of tyranny, but we are full of hope. And even for her, to me, she was so brave among all those leaders. She was so brave that she came to me and she said that we will win. I'm so proud of you. And I said, no, I am proud of you. I love her. This is my Iran. This is my country.